Hello, and welcome to another edition of Coffee Talk with immigration attorney Brian D. Lerner. In this particular video, we are going to talk about U visas. Now, what are U visas and how might they apply to you? Well, U visas are primarily made for persons who are victims of crime. Now, obviously, if you're a U.S. citizen, then this particular video is not for you. But if you know someone who is not a U.S. citizen, generally not a lawful permanent resident, who is here either illegally, whose status is about to expire, even if they have crimes, if they have been a victim of crime, then the U visa might be the particular visa for them. Now, the U visa is not for every type of visa. It is only for the more serious kinds of crimes, such as assault, battery, rape, things like that. But there's a whole list of crimes which qualify for the U visa. And the reality is that even if the particular crime is not specifically listed in the statutory list of qualifying crimes, chances are that you would be able to make a good argument for a U visa petition that it does fall under one of the particular items. So let's take, for example, that somebody is carjacked. Okay, there is clearly no element in the U visa that allows for carjacking. However, if you look into the facts of the case, maybe the person was stopped at gunpoint, maybe they were pulled out of their car, maybe they were thrown on the ground once they were pulled out of the car. So one of the elements, or one of the crimes, is called felonious assault. So clearly that would qualify as a felonious assault. So even though the crime itself that the person was convicted under was carjacking, if you can show that one of the items which are eligible for the U visa have been committed, such as felonious assault, then you will be able to go forward and obtain the U visa. Now, to get the U visa, you do have to have been a victim of crime. But the question arises, how long ago can the crime have been committed for you to apply for the U visa? Because the U visa regulations, relatively speaking, are not very old and came out just a little while ago. So the answer is, you could have been a victim of crime in 1982 and still apply for the U visa. The problem is that it's harder to prove, and one of the most important elements of the U visa is more difficult to get, and this is called the certification. Now, the certification is basically a document, the proper form, signed by the person in charge of the case, and there's different people that you can get to certify the U case. It could be a police officer, it could be the district attorney, there's organizations that do it. You can even make a motion and get the judge to do it. So there's lots of different ways of getting a certification. So the fact that the case is very old shouldn't be a bar to you trying to get the U visa. In fact, there's been times where I've had U visa cases that weren't old at all, but for one reason or another, the attorney on the case didn't want to certify, the police officers didn't want to certify, the detective working on the case didn't want to certify. So what we did is we made a motion to the judge, and we got the judge to certify the case. Personally, I think it's a little embarrassing that nobody else would certify it, and we had to go to the judge because the judge works with all these people all the time. And, we put all the facts in about the case, about the crime that was committed, how the client was a victim, and, everything that she suffered, and so forth. So it's just a matter of properly getting the certification in order to go forward. Now, once you have the certification, you have to, of course, have all the supporting documents, and you also have to show certain hardship that the crime has caused on the victim. So normally what I do is I refer a psychologist to my clients who then interview them and determine what type of psychological hardship they have suffered, what type of hardship from the crime has derived from that crime, and then the psychologist will prepare a very detailed declaration and an expert report on everything that this person has suffered. I then can attach that to the petition itself. So given that, once we do the U petition, we have the attorney cover letter, the declarations, affidavits, exhibits, the police docket report, and essentially everything that is necessary in order to try to get the U approved. Now, when the U goes in and it's approved, it's not a green card. However, it basically is a nice work permit that lets you work and lets you remain here legally. And what's nice about the U, because when Congress came out with the U visa and the regulations, is they essentially wanted to give some benefit to people who suffered crimes. If you're going to be a victim of crime, that's bad as it is, but at least, if you're not here legally, you can try for the U visa. Now, to get many other types of visas, if you're inadmissible for one reason or another, because of past crimes or fraud or misrepresentation or claiming to be a U.S. citizen or whatever it is, some there's a waiver, some there's not. And a waiver essentially is a whole packet that you put forward in order to essentially say, forget about what I did and let me in. Well, the U visa has the biggest pool of waivers available that there are of any type of visa, of any type of petition that's put in front of immigration. And the burden that's necessary to prove to get the waiver approved is easier than on other cases, many other cases. So let's say that you're applying for a U visa and you have yourself a prior crime of, let's say, theft. Okay, normally that would make you inadmissible, but with a U visa waiver, you can submit the waiver and you do the necessary documentation, and there's a very good chance, if it's done right, that it would be approved. The waiver's approved, and then you get the U visa. Now, that of course is a very important point, especially even people who have deportation orders and have a list of criminal history. They can get the U visa if the proper waivers have done. Because the reality is, most of the time, if you have a deportation order, while there are ways of doing motions to reopen and going forward, it does depend on various other factors as well. So, good to keep in mind as far as that goes. Now, what happens when you get the U visa? You essentially can keep it for 3 years, and then you can actually apply for permanent residency based upon the U visa and based upon other factors. If you were, helping the authorities to convict or prosecute the perpetrator of the crime and so forth, and so you would be able to ultimately end up with residency based upon being a victim of crime. And one other item of the U that is interesting to note is that the derivative beneficiaries of a U are much wider than with a normal type of visa. So, for example, you get a normal type of visa, and let's say you're, your spouse and you have children under 21 who are single. Those are the normal derivative beneficiaries that can get the visa as well. So, for example, let's just say you get an H-1B work visa. Your spouse can get an H-4, and your children under 21 single can get an H-4. Well, with a U-1, with a U visa, not only is it spouse and children, but you can do parents and siblings as well. It's very broad. So if your whole family is here and nobody is here legally, basically the person who is the victim of crime can get the U, and then get derivative U's for not only the immediate family, but the extended family. So, rather than staying here and hiding and wondering, whatever's going to happen to you, if you have been a victim of crime, the immigration laws are very much in your favor. Do come forward. Do try to get someone who knows what they're doing to apply for you for the U visa, and then get it filed and submitted, and then maybe eventually you could end up with lawful permanent residency. when there is a particular item in immigration law that actually makes it easier to get than others and the burden of proof is less, you want to take advantage of that. You don't want to sit there and hope for something better to come along, because this might be the only chance you have. So give my office a call. I'll be happy to give you a consultation. I do have U visa cases all across the United States, and I can certainly help you if you're a victim. So let me know. More in the coming videos.